You've been talking about being lucky and luck. I really want us to deep dive into that. How much of this do you think is something that just came to you with random chance?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, luck is complicated. There's a professor I had in college who I didn't learn a lot from him because I wasn't very good at engineering. But I remember there's a phrase that he had that every person's born with a bag of lucky coins, and it kind of depends on like how you use those lucky coins. And I think, there's people out there who, get to senior director level in like 5 years or something like that. Like there's a lot of, and you hear all sorts of crazy stories across Silicon Valley, like these insane, fortunate things happening to people, right time, right place, etc. I think there's two components to it. There's like a before and there's an after. So I think there's one where you have to like really put yourself in a position to have fortunate things happen to you. And then when these things happen to you, you have to hold on for dear life and just go as hard as you can on them. And I think I wrote about this when I left Facebook. There's an analogy I use is like, if you're driving on the highway and it's like a crowd, it's here in California, it's every day driving on the highway and
Yeah.
it's jam packed. And suddenly something happens, like maybe maybe in front of you, like there's an exit or something, and like all the cars in front of you get out of the way. When that happens, you need to like step on the gas and go 100 miles an hour because you have just got an extremely lucky break in your traffic jam and you can go really fast and bypass a lot of cars. I think some people like that happens to them and they, in real life and in the analogy, they kind of like keep going at the same speed they were going. And this happened to me sometimes as a manager where there's times when someone's like working in an area, and maybe this is an unpopular thing to say, but like someone's working in an area and suddenly the area that they're working in becomes like a focus for the company. Like suddenly the CEO is like, okay, this is the thing that we're going to spend all of our time on. And that person doesn't change the way they operate. And I think that's like a huge miss because they got extremely lucky. The area they work on, they know the most about is like super high visibility. If I'm that person, and this is the unpopular thing, I'm working 12 hours a day. I'm working weekends because this is the time, right? Like over the course of 5 years, you can like take a month off if you want. But like now I got extremely lucky. My area is in high demand. I'm busting my ass to make the most of it. I'm getting that promotion this half. I'm getting a high rate next half, etc. Some people just kind of keep operating the way they're operating without realizing that they actually just got this windfall of really good things happening to them. And so I think there's like a component of like really taking advantage of it, but there's also a component of like setting yourself up for it. Like I've worked with people who, have been in the same role for like 5, 6 years. And if they're doing well, then that's great. Like keep doing it. But there are times when like things don't work out for them and they're miserable in that role and they don't even apply for other jobs. They don't look for anything else. And it's like no one's gonna come down from above and be like, hey, here's an amazing new job for you. Please come take it. You have to like put yourself out there and put yourself in the position to get these opportunities. So yeah, with like my Google example, like I got pretty lucky that they, called me back for an interview, but that's also because I like sent my resume to like 100 different places.
Here's an AI question for you, Gene. So, quote, AI is going to replace data scientists. Is this true?
Oh my God.
Oh,
This is going
I
to
mean,
short. So please make sure you have a very good, nice
oh,
answer.
yeah, I mean, definitely untrue. I think I think it has already improved efficiency. I think it will continue to improve efficiency. I think honestly, like I guess I'm an optimist. I think it'll reduce the things that data scientists need to do but hate doing and leave time for them to do things that are really value adding. I think of AI as having unlimited access to an intelligent college intern. And so it enables us to do things with, let's say, data collection that we previously couldn't do. Like if, let's say, I wanted to, I mean, I don't know how well this work at Meta with like billions and billions of pieces of data, but at Instacart, if I want to look at like 1 day's orders, I think we're not in the billions range yet. And so I could probably like have it like scan through them and like ask it basic questions. And I think it could just give that to me in the same way that like if I had 1,000 college interns, I'm like, for the next 8 hours, you guys are all manually looking through orders. So I think data collection is better. Coding is just easier with Copilot-esque tools. Just I think it'll take you half as long to code something. Even like statistical things, things that are like not developing new techniques or like connecting things that are very different, like setting up an experiment. I feel like an AI can probably just help you do that in a much short amount of time. And then you can spend your time on connecting different parts of the business, on taking these insights, interpreting them, which is really the biggest bang for the buck you have on data science, and spending more time like talking to people about the results rather than just kind of squirreled away in the corner. I think like deep technical data scientists, like if you're like at the staff level, like doing like the real groundbreaking research and experimentation, you probably still have to do it yourself. Like you might have a little bit of help. But I think for like a lot of the basic things, I think it'll just improve efficiency so much. I think the job will still be there. I think we'll just be able to extract more and more value. I know it's true at every company, but Instacart, like the data scientists are aggressively overworked. Like they have like for every one data scientist, I would say probably 1.5 to 1.8 worth of data scientists work to do. And so if we can kind of help one data scientist get 1.2 or 1.3 amount of work done with AI, then that still leaves more stuff to do. But it's not like, it's not like you like automate your way out of the job. You automate your way into doing bigger and better things.
Let's say Gene graduated today, 2024. What would he do in this market?
5 steps
Man, it is.
how people can replicate your success.
Yeah, it's a brutal market. The first thing I would do is I would actually not. I think a lot of folks kind of come out of college and want to try to get jobs at these like big companies like Facebook, Netflix, etc. I would not do that. That's the first thing, because you can try. Effectively at this point, if you're coming out of college, it's like winning a lottery ticket, unless you have some sort of like inside connection, which I think at that point in the career no one does, or unless if you're graduating with like a PhD in some like crazy specialty, maybe. But if you're like a college grad from undergrad, even if it's like Stanford or Harvard or Berkeley or something, it's so tough because there's so many other grads from that area. I would actually, even if your degree's in like data science, I would not even like necessarily look for that type of role. I would probably look for companies that are not quite as prestigious and roles that are not quite as prestigious. And so again, I started my job in Capital One as a business analyst. I mean, Capital One, I would argue, has like a decent reputation. So it's not like a, bottom of the barrel company or anything. But yeah, it's certainly like I would not put it like in the same tier as like Google. And, I wasn't like my title wasn't data scientist or anything like that. I was business analyst. And so if it were me, I would kind of end up doing that same thing, which is look for like more companies that I have some connection with, like locally or something like that, and look for a role that's analytical in nature, but maybe in a slightly different part of the business. The second thing I would do is the biggest mistake I see people making is just sending off like thousands of resumes, like hundreds a day. And if their metric of success, and I think in metrics of success, because that's what my job is, I guess. If their metric of success, their KPI is number of applications sent, that's a horrible KPI. Your actual KPI is number of job offers received. And if you go upstream of that, then optimizing for applications sent is actually a really bad idea. It's like if you're, if I'm thinking of products, if like my KPI is someone making a grocery order, if the metric I'm optimizing for is people visiting Instacart, that's a useful metric to know, but it's a terrible metric, because if that's what I try to improve, I can do all sorts of janky things, and none of that stuff will ever lead to someone making an order.
So true. Yeah.
So I always encourage people to do like really thoughtful applications. Each application should take you like 2 hours or something like that. And I don't mean like the resume. I mean, so first you make a resume, and like you make sure it's like a good resume. You can work with paid people to perfect it. Then I would slightly alter the resume to fit the job description. This is old hat. Everyone does this. I would actually then do the legwork, and this is where the 2 hours comes in, of finding the connections within that company to get your foot in the door. And the more popular the job you're applying to, the more legwork you have to do. Because I'll tell you, as a hiring manager, and I did write a post about this, when I post like a junior data scientist role, on LinkedIn, I get probably hundreds of messages on LinkedIn, and we get, I'd say in the low thousands of applications. And some of these we can weed out because they are, people with completely like irrelevant experience. But there's a lot of folks with like especially for junior candidates who haven't had the time in their career to set themselves apart. especially if you're coming out of college, because if you're coming out of college, everyone looks exactly the same. It's like basically what school do you come from, maybe what GPA do you have, but like
Yep.
it's not that different. You have to really set yourself apart. And so I think, like, I'm not saying you should do this. Please don't do this to me anymore. But there was like one person that emailed me. Is like, hey, I read your entire job description and I found a typo. And I'm like, wow, that's awesome. Like, that's like a lot of
Literally.
attention to detail. They sent me an email. It was a typo. We fixed it. And yeah, I kind of like the initiative and the attention to detail. So that person's resume looked exactly the same as the other 1,000 people, but we ended up giving that person an interview because again, they looked exactly as good as everyone else.